Okay, so the idea of the panel is to talk about failure and how to avoid it. And what I want to say before we start is there is no failure in entrepreneurship. Either we learn or we earn. So what I wanted to say before we talk about the different ideas is that we're going to follow a specific framework. The idea is to be as much practical as possible, so I will ask our panelists to be down to earth, to talk about really practical experiences, and to tell us what happened during their careers, their lives as entrepreneurs or as mentors, and how they can help new entrepreneurs succeed in their journey. So we will discuss first the money level, how money level is important in success, what kind of tools, tips, readings, and type of mindsets and attitude that we need to have in order to succeed in this points. We'll talk also about the business idea, the business concepts, what are the things to avoid, what are the tips to succeed in this area. Third level is legal level, and the fourth level is the team. So before we start, I just want to ask the panelists who've been monitoring during these 2 days to tell us about their feedback, what kind of problems they saw in the startups they met, what kind of repeated problems they saw, and what kind of problems they think these startups will meet in the coming 2 years. So maybe I will start with Tatiana. Just maybe if you can make an introduction and start talking about the experience of the bootcamp.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for StartUp Maroc for inviting me to your beautiful country again. I can tell you I mentored entrepreneurs 2 years ago when I was here, and I'm very impressed by the progress you guys are making, and I've seen more maturity in talking to entrepreneurs I met. My observation is that I would strongly recommend local entrepreneurs to do a little bit more research on competitors and new things that available in their space elsewhere outside of the country. So most of you asking how to get money from investors, especially considering that the infrastructure is not developed there for early stage investments, so you can abroad. And once you go to those countries, they will start comparing you to what's out there elsewhere. And I haven't seen specifically like looking into putting very strong case for how it compares to some other solutions available elsewhere. Just one of the points.
Okay, maybe just for the introduction, Tatiana is CEO and co-founder of Open Health Network. She's a serial entrepreneur, and she's also a mentor for 500 startups and for Richard Branson Entrepreneurial Center. Okay, so Adil, what is your feedback about these 2 days session?
So actually, I have been mentoring the last 2 days, and this is the first time actually I mentor in Morocco. The last time we were here with Maktoub, we organized a couple of workshops, like during our tour around the world for a nonprofit, like empowering entrepreneurship with the help of technology. And I was really, really surprised, seriously. I've seen some guys, they have amazing project. And I told them if I was an investor, I would have invested, seriously. There are 2 guys, they have really good products. And what I really witnessed is mainly the fear. Some of the guys, they are afraid, to go beyond like the statute that they are having, the level they reached already. They are still questioning, and they are like cautious about going further. So just do it and just go and try. So that's what I noticed mainly is the fear
Okay, so Adil is CEO and co-founder of Maktoub. Maybe just a few words about Maktoub.
Yeah, Maktub, it's an app discovery platform for businesses, for small and medium businesses. So if you're looking for a business app, you come to our platform. They have rating and reviews. So it's to help your life to find this easiest way and to find the business to build your to build the app business to build your business. Sorry.
Okay, so maybe I'll give floor to Olivier. Olivier is now in the investment side of entrepreneurship. So he's managing an investment fund based in Africa, in Senegal. And he had before more than 14 years experience in telecom consulting and entrepreneurship in Europe. So again, same question, what was the most important feedback, if there is any takeaway that we need to give the entrepreneurs and startups here, what should it be in terms of problems they may face or problems they are facing right now?
Thank you. I was very happy to be able to mentor a few of the startups here. I found the always very inspiring, exciting to see the enthusiasm. Concretely, there were several usual issues which were addressed. Business models, some of the companies that were here did not really have their business model right or hadn't had the time yet to test the business model, and that's very important. So clearly one recommendation, go and, if you think that your customer is not the one who will use, but that someone else will pay for it, in a variety of sectors, then go and try and meet and knock on the door and to see if this actually can be for real. Second thing is, coming to Tatiana's point, mentioning the competition, I also noticed that many entrepreneurs say, okay, I have no competition because I'm, like blue ocean innovation, I'm the only one doing this. On the other hand, the question that I'll always ask myself, also for my own projects and what we do, is, okay, but what are the alternatives? How do people currently do what you do, of course, in another way? So alternatives, substitutes for me is also really one way to look at the projects and to set or to shed a critical eye in order for your project to progress.
Okay, thank you, Olivier. So Bastien is managing director of Jumia in Morocco. He have many years of experience in banking before joining Rocket Internet Group. So you didn't attend the bootcamp, but maybe if you can just give a takeaway for our startups and entrepreneurs, what kind of problems they need to think about and they need to prepare for in the first 2 years of existence.
So for me, the very first feedback you should have when you're building a company, when you want to be an entrepreneur, is not to be afraid to fail, because you will. And the faster you understand it, the faster you accept it, the more you will learn from it. And I think it's being an entrepreneur makes you very humble, and you have to be extremely humble when you want to be an entrepreneur, because if you think you're going to have it right from the first time, you're just wrong. It's not going to happen like this, and the more humble and the more open to feedback from competition, from the market, from your customers, from your peers, the more you're open to this feedback, the faster and the better you will learn and you will move on.
Okay. Thank you, guys. So we'll start right away about the survival kits. So the first important issue, and I think this can be shared by all entrepreneurs, the most important issue that face entrepreneurs at the beginning is money. So let's start about the first level. The first level is bootstrapping. So how can entrepreneurs, from your experience, Tatiana, how can entrepreneurs face this phase of bootstrapping? How can they prepare it? What kind of practical tools, readings maybe, tips they need to work on in order to face this first stage of starting the business, having the money that will help you go through the first 6 months?
I think it might be surprising to some of you, based on my experience working with entrepreneurs from outside of the United States, that the reality is that no one gives money based on cool idea. So I see lots of people who come to the valley and they ask for whatever money because we have real cool idea. And because that's not the case, then bootstrapping becomes very important. And realistically, it does take quite a bit of time to get to the point where you have enough revenue to sustain your operations. So in my practice, I've done like 5, 6 startups. You either save money or you go and ask your friends and family to give you money, or you supplement what you do with your startup by either moonlighting, meaning you have a full-time job and then you have another full-time job after your full-time job, and you build a product to the point where you have a market proof and you can actually start making money and eventually get out of the first one that you really don't want to do, but you have to. And the last model I've seen, and I've done that in a couple of startups where there are 2 business units within the company. One is consulting, and consulting revenue helps you to develop product until you can get all the way to product or keep them both.
Perfect. Can you get the money from the customer? Is it? I mean, a lot of people say that the best way to get finance is through the customer. Do you think that this is the way to get bootstrapped, or?
Well, unless you're like Mark Zuckerberg or someone who have done something before that your name is highly recognizable, to get money before you have any market proof is pretty much has very slim chance, to be honest. To get money before you get money from customers, so basically there are a few proof points, right? 1, people want to use it. B, people want to use it and willing to pay for it. And 3, there are lots of people who are willing to use it and pay for it. So if you kind of have proof points for all 3 things, then you golden, you can get money. But before that, it's hard.
Okay. How about cash? We know a lot of companies can start, but at certain points, maybe after 6 months, 1 year, depending on the growth of the company, they can get cash trapped. So I don't know if you can tell us about your own experience and how we can prepare for this in terms of process, in terms of tips, and so on.
Well, according to my personal experience and what I see around me, cash is always a problem in a startup. When you build a company, you always have cash problems, or you will always have cash problems. There are moments when it's more intense than others, but it always comes back because it's part of the life of a startup. You have to raise money regularly in order to feed your cash needs. So there are moments when you just raise, you have cash and you have the feeling that you will always have it, because generally when you raise, it's big enough amounts to make you hold 1 year, 18 months. So you have the feeling that you don't have cash problems anymore, and very quickly, cash problems, cash concerns comes back. And from my experience, it's one of the most stress-generating factor. It's cash management. Having the feeling that you might fail, not because your idea is not good, not because the market is not reacting, but because you don't manage your cash well enough. And a lot of startups don't succeed and fail because of cash management problem. So I think it's extremely important to have it in mind from the beginning and to implement tools, routine, in order to always have this in mind and always know where you are and what you are going to do with the cash you have and when you're going to be short of cash. You have to really have tools, daily tools. On my side, I have a daily dashboard that I receive, and the first thing I look in the morning is where I am on the bank account, like how much cash I have, do I have a problem, will I have a problem in 1 month, in 2 months, and if I do, starting to understand from this moment when I realize it, how I'm going to do to solve this problem. Because cash management, it's extremely stressful, and the best way to prevent it from hurting your focus and your business is really to force yourself to be extremely rigorous and to anticipate and to be proactive in these problems that you anyway will have.
Okay. Just again, maybe it's the same question, but from another perspective for Adil. Generally, in our kind of markets, in Morocco and in Africa, we have lots, in many cases for B2B businesses, we have a lot of delays from customers. So we can very easily have some problems in managing money coming from the customers. Are there any tools or any specific things that we need to do? Of course, we need, as said Bastien, to have a dashboard in which we have an idea about our cash plans in the coming months and so on. But how about any other tools or specific tips that we need to implement for a young startup to be able to manage these problems coming from the delays?
Okay. So if we are talking about young startups, we are talking about early stage, okay? So even before the seed, or even before any money coming in. So we have a good idea, it's amazing, so we have to test that idea. So what I advise, and what this is the main of our tour, it's like there are business apps out there almost for free, and you can build your business and try it, like go through proof of concept, and then try to survive for 1-2 years, because most of these business apps are for free. So there is no excuse. So what we do usually is, so we make a presentation of 15, 20 apps, almost for free, and then you say, okay, I give you $50 now for 15 minutes, and you have to come up with an MVP. And most of them, they come with an idea and with something solid, because they have the tools out there. There is no excuse, it's not about money or about time to start. I'm talking about the first year. And then, of course, there are tools out there to manage your cash and when you go further. But there is no excuse to start a business. So that's my opinion.
Okay, so maybe Tatiana, yeah, sure.
So you mentioned like B2B type of sales, and I would recommend for everyone to read the book Crossing the Chasm. It's kind of older book, but fundamentals stay the same in terms of how you structure your sales, how
so
you
crossing
the chasm.
Okay.
And in a nutshell, related to this conversation, that in any industry, in any country, there are companies that are more open to implement innovative solutions. And if you have not done your homework and you're trying to sell to companies who never done any business with startups, then you're wasting your time. So it gives you a lot of kind of baseline approaches on B2B sales. And once you get to that and structure your sales and target customer base, and you have real good in B2B sales methodology, you want to make sure that contractually you have all the terms in terms of when customers will start paying you, what the terms are. And I know, trust me, that most likely your first couple of B2B customers will not be paying, but contractually you want to make sure that you know when they will start paying, if they like what you do. So after the pilot phase.
Perfect. So maybe, Olivier, I want you maybe to talk about the other perspective. I mean, after 1 year, or maybe at the time the startup will get to raise money, what is the process? What they need to know about before they come to an investor like you? What they need to prepare before coming to an investor? And what is the process they need to know that they will go through during this raising journey?
Thank you. Just maybe before answering your question directly, 2 other small comments I could add to what my colleague said. One is that, in terms of cash burn and how to overcome cash crisis, in terms of model, we have we operate in West Africa and out of Senegal in particular, but there's one company, for instance, which that's like logistics, which enables any Senegalese or anyone from Senegal to buy from any websites in the world and get delivered, through their last mile or last kilometers, even when there's no address. So they're filling a need, and the only reason why I'm mentioning that is that actually customers pay in advance. So another idea, which of course is not valid in all business models for all companies, is actually to have customers prepay, actually. So even here in B2C, it's possible, and it's not telecom, of course, but you can have customers prepay, so which creates negative networking capital, just to mean that you get paid before you have to face your expenses. So this, just as a side note. Second thing is that when you have a contract in B2B, of course, we face many companies coming to us and say, okay, I have a contract. Sometimes it's even with the government, and the payment cycle is so long. Well, in some instances, but this is quite hard, especially again in West Africa, if you have some collateral, you can get a cash advance from the bank against a contract or an order. That's something which, can exist. Now, back to your main question. Indeed, like everybody said today, all the other speakers, you do not get funded upon an ID or, like paper business plan. I think it's very hard, probably, many places in the world. Again, especially Africa or West Africa, the area which I know a little bit of, well, it's impossible. So what you need to do is to build on what everybody has said, meaning that you have proven, the concept that you have. So what we require, for instance, we want to have a product or service which is launched, yet it can be at a very small scale, but launched with one or a few customers, paying once, so that it means that you have, made the validation of your concept, service, product by the market. That is very important. So that's the first thing in scenario stage, and that requires time. We have many entrepreneurs who come to us with the idea or have just started, and they have not gone through the whole cycle to actually show that even on a small scale, what they pursue to do can work and can make money and can be sustainable. That's the first thing. Second thing, in terms of concrete preparation, is actually, well, it's the infamous, business plan. We need something to be able to understand what the entrepreneur wants to do or has been doing. And of course, we don't need like a full-fledged business plan, so please do not go and write like 100 pages. Investors usually don't even like that, which doesn't mean that you just can provide, let's say, a one-pager or half-a-pager teaser. The reality is, of course, quite a bit in between, but it's quite important to have a document to formalize our ideas. We face many companies, many entrepreneurs in various sectors, tech and non-tech, and they have everything in their mind. But you need at some point to be able to formalize, just to put in writing some of the things that you have done and what you want to do. Otherwise, sorry to say, it won't fly. Then there's the question also of formalization. And obviously, many small companies, many startups, work under, let's say, informal rules or settings, which is very fine. But in order for an investor, an external investor, a professional investor, so to speak, not just people around you, to go trust you and to fund you in a meaningful way, well, you need to have financial accounts. And again, that sounds very boring, very, not very enjoyable for entrepreneurs, but this refers to to the comment of a previous panel, which said, okay, start your business as if you are a multi-billion company. So get the rules right, get the processes right, get the tools right, and then, have someone come in and do your accounting, and just keep your invoices, keep the things, so that at some point you'll be able to present some financial statements that, it's just more the exercise which matters than the numbers behind them.
Okay. Just, to talk about this raising the money from customer, we have an example. Maybe later in the discussion we can have this example with my friend Adil Krakbi, who made pre-order kind of financing, which can be interesting to know about and to see how some people in some businesses can apply this to their process in order to get some money at an early stage. Just a question we got from a bunch of my friends, entrepreneurs here, is about how to get the first customer. It's really a critical problem or critical question that faces any entrepreneur is to get their first customer. And the problem in the discussion was, can we just have the reference for free? Try to sell, let's say, for free something to get a kind of reference letter or something, just to say that, because one of the problems we face in our markets, I think it's global, is that when you go to convince the customer, he will say, where did you implement this, or have you done this before? So how we do it? Do we need to do it for free for the first customer? How we can acquire this first customer and get him to pay you for your first projects or first products? Any ideas, tips,
Yeah,
practical?
I've done it a number of times and mentored on this subject. And I had the company from real good startup from Mexico, and the CEO came to me and said, how we can open up B2B space. We want to sell to these big companies, and we're looking into hiring a company who will make those phone calls for us. And I think for any startup, that's not a good approach. So you need to develop a very thick skin and make those phone calls, assuming that you read the book, Crossing the Chasm, identified who you're targeting, what companies, what roles within the company, you know exactly why what you're selling will be of use to them, assuming you have done all that. And then you make a phone call. And it's important for C-level people, for the founders, to communicate with your pilot or targeted pilots, because in any event, you will get very good feedback. Even if you will not close that pilot with that customer, you can have a conversation that will help you to improve your next conversation. Now, when you think that, oh, use it for free, why are you not using it? From a customer point of view, it's not free. You need to train them, they need to change the business processes. So it's not free to them anyway, even if they don't pay cash. So you have to have real good reasons and convince people playing different angles. So if you talk to people and identify some people within the company who are ambitious or who just got in certain roles, you know, those people want to make a statement, they want to change. If you see threats from other companies in the industry, you want to highlight those, why you want. So you really need to play it right to get the first one. And again, if you get that one, then you need to make sure you have terms that it's not a like lifetime free customer for you that will consume all your resources and you can't do anything else for anyone else. Yeah.
Okay, any other? Okay. So maybe we will move directly to the second level of this discussion, which is business idea or the concept of the products. Again, we don't have a lot of time, so let's be very focused on the answers. What kind of tips or what kind of things you think that entrepreneurs need to avoid when they are at the beginning in terms of their concepts? I mean, I heard a lot of people, for example, saying that we have the right products, we don't have any competitors, these kind of things. So how can you help or give tips about the way to perceive the product and the way to make it, to market it, to make it marketable and sellable?
Okay, so, you want to start? No? Okay, sorry. Let's go. So I heard also on the mentoring that three guys I met, they're like, we have a unique idea. And I was like, you sure there are no other competitors? There are no one who did this before? And they were like, no, we are sure. I was like, come on, it's impossible. Like, either you are like completely wrong or you're a genius. And like the chances to be a genius, you know, they're really, really tiny. So I think a proof of idea, it's a proof of, like, you have to know your competitors. You have to know what's going on around you, you know. You have to be curious. You have to read, I don't know, magazines and be aware, like follow on Twitter, you know, be active. It's not just I have an idea, I know how to program and everything is okay, you know. It doesn't work that way, I think. So yeah, I would push for this way. I would push for, I think, mainly one of the reasons of failure is lack of information, lack of education. So more reading, more following. You're not the first one, believe me. There are many other people who did it before, or even tried it and failed. So go and check why they failed, how they failed and where they failed. Maybe they fail in the US doesn't mean that they will fail here in Morocco. So always keep this in mind that you are in Morocco and what is working in the US may or may not work here. So we have to adapt it, be enough smart. We were in Iran and we spent 1 month there, and we're really surprised how they are really smart, on copying what's going on around and adapting, always adapting. They always speak about that adaptability, which is equals smart person. So.
Yeah, sure, that's enough.
I think the biggest mistake you can make is spend a lot of time, lots of money on building something before you talk to anyone. So if you're building mobile apps, as everyone else does, there are tools that allow you to do working prototype. I mean, it's just screens that you can click on. So you get people in a group, you buy pizza and beer, whatever, and potential users that you think will need what you're trying to build. And early on, get feedback. Because if you think they need it and they think they don't invest lots of time. So the sooner you can get any type of feedback, the better it is. And the second thing that you need to learn real well is the word pivoting. And I think 80% of startups, they pivot, meaning they start with one idea, they listen, in the process, they change to something else. But the earlier you start listening, the likelihood of you moving in the right direction increases and your survival will increase.
Okay, Bastien?
And also, I completely agree with you, and the number of entrepreneurs I see that are focused on their ideas in their little box, in their little room, and that absolutely want to push the product to the customer. And I think that's a big mistake. You have an idea, it's great, but instead of trying to always find ways to push your idea to customers, it's extremely important always to pull information, to pull the need from the customer. And this is what you were saying. You need to talk to your customers, to your potential customers, to the people that should have an appeal for your product, and understand if it's the case. Understand how you have to adapt, to pivot, and to really adapt your initial project to the market, to the reality of customers. Don't spend time trying to find ways to push and to market your product. First, talk to your customers, understand what they need, what they want, and for me, this is the big focus to have.
Okay, they're telling me that we have 5 or 10 minutes, so let's try to let's try to move to maybe the last level, which is the team. I know of many projects which failed because of some, concern in terms of connection between the team or communication between the team. How, for a young enterprise, a young entrepreneur, how to manage this level, how to manage their co-founder, how they manage their team in order to move forward and not have survival problems. So, anyone?
Okay, it's hard. You know that you're getting into marriage with your co-founder pretty much. And you know the failure rate of marriages is real high. So it's hard, but I think the best way is to set up a company culture. And I think before you even create any legal agreements and form your company, you need to discuss if you agree on fundamentals, do you own 50-50? What the expectations in terms of roles and responsibilities. And you need to do that all up front, even the cases that you might break up, what will happen to that, in that case. If you discuss as much as you can and have an agreement on major points beforehand, it will be easier to handle, and I'm sure other points will be highlighted by other people.
So maybe Olivier?
First, I completely agree with Tatiana. I think the question of the partnership, like the team, sometimes, most of the time, what I see in my experience is that companies are one woman or one man company to start with. So there's a big question, and it refers back to culture about, okay, am I open first, me as a would-be, wannabe entrepreneur, to open myself to have someone else share this, the risks, but also the rewards. And that's quite sensitive. But I think that in terms of team, it has something which has to be addressed. And most of the time, it's a barrier to overcome. So yes, the quick tip is yes, please be open to that. Not just to an investor down the road, but first and foremost, as making a team, you will be stronger. It's a long road, entrepreneurship. It will be hard. It is hard on a daily basis, especially in some of the geographies we're talking about. So please be ready to that. Second thing is get yourself a support network, actually, exactly for the right reasons, for the same reasons. It's not easy, so try to find formally or informally, mentors, people who can coach you, and of course there are incubators, accelerators to do that, and that's very formalized, and certainly I would advise that. But on top of that, if you can find some, business entrepreneurs with a bit more experience than you, and go to find, like from time to time, I think that's been very helpful to most of the people I know, and myself included. So mentoring, and find a mentor that's cheap, that's easy, and that will help you.
Okay, just maybe to move to the next point, we talked about a lot of things, but not about the entrepreneur himself. The entrepreneurship journey is not easy. We have a lot of doubts, problems, decision-making, and decision-making. If you have any, again, piece of advice to give or tips to give for the entrepreneur in terms of his life, maybe the way he's facing his, everyday problems, what would it be?
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard lifestyle, financials, also. But before you get there, it's important that your family supports you. So every day if you come home and if you have husband or wife or family members who nag on you, that gets to you. And then I think it's very, very important to communicate and participate in entrepreneurial events online or elsewhere, because you'll be surprised on how many people have the same problems that you have. And don't be shy to ask for help, or go and express your concerns and discuss your problems. Because when you hear that other people faced it and solved it, and there are many, many, many people who probably went through what you're going through, they will help you. So be open to that.
And I also think that there is a huge work to do when you're an entrepreneur into knowing yourself. We were talking before about company culture and setting from the beginning a company culture. This doesn't just come like this. You don't ask yourself, what's my company culture? I think when you're an entrepreneur, you first need to understand who you are. Who you are, what are your values, how you want to work, and how you want to take decisions. And by doing this work, this introspective work on who you are, what are your values, how you want to work, it will also help you in those situations, in building the right team, working with the right people, in taking decisions, taking hard decisions sometimes when you're too much into it, and having done this work of rethinking and putting on paper your values and things that must guide you above everything will help you to take those decisions. And for me, it's an extremely good exercise also that will help you determine your company culture and rebuild the right structure and the right HR mindset.
So, Adil?
I would say, there are some exceptions, who have rich parents who can help them, who support them, can send them to the US. That's really cool, But this is not the majority. Entrepreneurship, I quit my job, 4 years ago, and I was like, I will survive, I'm not gonna suffer, but we suffered a lot. We just rent the cheapest, and we went to the cheapest country, and we really suffered until we made it. So this is the real, I won't say the real, but this is the majority, we will not talk about exceptions. So, prepare yourself to suffer, And I would say if you are lucky, you will have support from your family, but in my opinion, it's the last people that will trust you. I'm sorry. My parents are here, by the way. So they are the first one who will break your dream, you know. It's because they love you, you know. They just want to protect you. And then you have the friends, and then you can go further. So, yeah, be prepared for that.
Okay, Olivier?
Just maybe a last tip. Many entrepreneurs we meet and we see actually are, like working so hard. So quick tip, exercise, do something, take some time off, take some vacations. Many people we know have been working nonstop for like 2 years, and this is not sustainable. So again, for the better of them, and of the project, take some time off, sometimes relax, take a deep breath, and reach out to anybody who can help.
Okay, just to finish with, maybe one book, one tool, and one magazine that an entrepreneur needs or must have or read during his journey. Maybe Olivier, you can start.
Well.
So they cannot have sailing startup. So.
Okay. So the book, there are quite several, and as the previous panel said, actually there's nothing focused solely on Africa. So unfortunately, that has to be done yet. Maybe the lean startup, and I know that many people know, but coming back to bootstrapping and everything, I think it kind of gives you like some ideas which you can adapt to your local context. Second one was the...
a magazine and a tool.
Tool, yes. Tool. I actually... I listen to quite, many podcasts for people who don't have a lot of time and everything. I think that podcast for me helps, and I get like ideas. I get not about business ideas, people talking about different things, and I think for entrepreneur, you can have quite a lot of information to be up to date with some of the thinking, some of what's happening through podcasts.
Okay, the book, my favorite is The Outlier. I really love it. So I love that book because it says that there is no chance or there is no things doesn't happen just like that, You have to make an effort, you have to make it happen. The apple fell, but sometimes it goes faster if you shake the trees. So I like reading that book, The Outlier. Otherwise, the tool, but of course, maktub.com. You will find more than 2,000 apps there, the sales pitch. The tool and the third one? The magazine, yeah. So we spent the first 2 years reading all the magazines, TechCrunch and Forbes and all this. But in the end, I think I like to read, National Geographic or something, just to clean my mind.
Change your mind.
Change.
On my side, on the book, I would say Delivering Happiness from Tony Hsieh, who is the founder of Zappos. Extremely interesting. He's a serial entrepreneur. He had all the issues an entrepreneur can have. He succeeded several times. And for me, it's one of the best books an entrepreneur should read. Regarding tools, there are so many. There are so many and so easy today. Just look on the internet for what you want to optimize. Is it your mails that you want to have reminders on mails that you don't reply to on the moment, or to-do management, or team management tools? So you have tools for everything today. You just have to open your eyes and look for it.
I think all the good books have been mentioned, so I'll give you some other sources. I don't know how many of you have startups in technology space, and if you are, I suggest you subscribe to email the newsletter that Robert Scoble just started doing again about a couple of months ago. He definitely has the best overview and scope on what's going on in technology space.
Definitely, and he's easy to add on Facebook and easy to get
No,
in
I'm
touch
just saying
with.
he publishes newsletters.
Yeah,
subscribe to it, it's free. Subscribe, it will get in your email box. I use content curation tools, so I have about 3-4 apps on my iPhone that allow me to curate content in my space. If you're interested, I can give you those names. Some products that I use. I'm all about curated content. If you don't know what's going on in your space, that's bad. If you don't know what your customers that you're trying to sell to talk about, that's bad. So you really have to be up to speed. You need to follow on social media your space, your influencers, reporters, customers in your space and communicate with them, and that's a big topic on its own.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe if I may mention another book, that would be The Hard Thing About Hard Things. That's really an excellent book which talks about how the entrepreneurial journey, what kind of problems you may face and how to prepare for it. So thank you very much. We may give floor to some questions. So one or two. I don't know if we have time for more, but we don't. Okay.
That's clear.
Sorry.
The bad guy is back. Okay.
So, yeah, maybe.
We don't actually. We're
You don't have
25%.
for
You know,
one-
I have to be great at my job.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop you right there.
No, maybe just one question.
I'm sorry.
Because if you were great,
Can
you'd
we
have
take
stopped
one? Let's
before.
take one.
Okay.
Go for it.
That's good.
Okay.
So just so you know, we're going to take like 15 minutes from the other panel. Gotta apologize to
Who
them.
took 15 minutes out of
10
us?
minutes from our.
So as we all learn from our mistakes, we have seen recently more companies focus on their failures, either to fail faster or to spend much more time on their failures. This leads me to a question on what are your recommendations to take advantage of the failures and our shortcomings. Thank you.
Okay, it's a very long one, huh? I'll take this one. I'll take it. So you have to define your metrics. How do you determine success and how do you determine failure? So I think you heard me say earlier, if you want to fail, you have to fail early, fail often. So to do that, you have to say, so it's like a binary thing. What does failure mean and what does success mean? I give myself 3 months to get a customer. If I don't get it, I'm done. I give myself 3 months to raise money. You know, put your metrics. If I don't get this many users, it's not going to go into a monetizable model. So I have to give up. I have to pivot to something else. But failure is not, it's not like, oh, I failed, I have to say. But look for another alternative. Can I pivot? Can I find another market? Keep asking those questions. But that's basically, yeah, just quantify your goals. Give them a number, metrics.
This question
that
was not
helps.
for the panel, so we may take another one.
Sure. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You know,